They called it daydreaming because they did not know what else to call it. Your eyes drifted, your mind traveled, and they mistook distance for disobedience. In the first seconds, you learned a dangerous lesson. Vision looks like absence to people who cannot see beyond the room. It started early, a classroom again, chalk dust floating, a page half filled, your hands still, your mind moving fast. You were not bored. You were building something invisible. Then a sharp reminder pulled you back. Attention demanded. Imagination dismissed. That moment stayed with you. Not the words, the feeling. Being misunderstood while doing something important inside. That was the first betrayal. Not loud, quiet. A subtle teaching that what mattered to you did not matter here. They taught you to sit still, to stay present, to focus forward. You tried, you really did. But your mind kept opening doors. Every sound became a signal. Every idea branched into 10 others. You learned to feel wrong for this. Guilt followed you like a shadow. You worked harder to compensate. You overprepared. You underdelivered. Time slipped without warning. Tasks remained unfinished. You told yourself stories that hurt more than truth ever could. They said you lacked discipline. You absorbed it. They said you were lazy. You believed it. They said you would never finish anything. That one hurt deepest, because part of you feared it might be true. There is a memory of a silent night. Everyone asleep. You alone with a notebook and a restless mind. Ideas poured out faster than your hand could move. Diagrams, words, connections. You felt alive and ashamed at the same time. Alive because something real was happening. Ashamed because you did not know how to explain it. That was not distraction. That was innovation without permission. Your mind does not wander randomly. It scouts. It tests. It simulates futures quietly. While others stay anchored to what is, you drift toward what could be. That is dangerous in rigid systems. That is priceless everywhere else. They never taught you the difference, so you learned to hide it, to stare forward while building worlds inside, to nod while exploring patterns no one asked for. You became good at masking. Exhaustion followed. Burnout waited patiently. Then came the break, the psychological snap. When motivation vanished completely, when even shame lost its edge, you stared at unfinished projects like ruins and wondered if something was fundamentally wrong with you. That emptiness became a doorway. In that space, a realization emerged slowly. Daydreaming was not the enemy. It was the raw material. Untamed, yes. Undirected, yes. But powerful. It was intelligence moving faster than structure allowed. A flashback returns. Walking alone after disappointment. Streetlights flickering. Rain starting softly. You noticed reflections on the pavement forming patterns, shifting with each step. Chaos revealing order when observed long enough. You smiled without knowing why. Your mind works like that. It wanders until patterns surface. Hyperfocus proves it. When meaning locks in, the world dissolves. Hours compress. Complexity feels natural. That capacity does not belong to unfocused minds. It belongs to deep ones. The mistake was trying to apply linear discipline to nonlinear intelligence. You were asking a storm to behave like a clock. It never would. The first transformation begins with permission. You stop calling it daydreaming. You call it exploration. You stop interrupting your own thought process with shame. Awareness replaces self-attack. The second transformation is containment. You build places for ideas to land. Notes, visuals, voice recordings. You respect how fast thoughts move. You stop trusting memory. Innovation requires capture. The third transformation is command. You decide when wandering is allowed, and when convergence is required. You build discipline without cruelty. Structure becomes ally, not jailer. A scene surfaces, a bridge burning behind you, not in anger, in clarity. You stop explaining your process to people invested in misunderstanding you. Silence becomes protective. Focus sharpens. Emotion still runs high. Sensitivity remains. You feel deeply. That becomes radar instead of weakness. Empathy reads rooms. Intuition senses shifts early. Creativity connects signals others miss. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are built different. They called it daydreaming because innovation frightens those who depend on rules. Vision always looks like rebellion before it looks like progress. The storm inside you was never meant to be silenced. It was meant to be trained. And this is only the beginning of that training. The storm grows louder when you stop running from it. What once felt like distraction now demands direction. Creativity without command begins to ache. Because potential senses when it is being wasted. That ache is not failure. It is a signal. You begin noticing how your mind behaves when you respect it. Attention softens instead of fighting back. Ideas arrive with less panic. The inner noise lowers when curiosity is allowed to move before being asked to settle. There is a memory of a broken room, papers everywhere, half-finished projects stacked like abandoned tools. You stood in the doorway once, chest heavy, believing this chaos proved something dark about you. That image returns now with new meaning. The room was not broken. It was ungoverned. This is where the rebuild begins. Not with inspiration, but with containment. You stop asking creativity to be polite. You give it walls strong enough to lean against. Systems replace shame. Capture replaces panic. The first real shift feels subtle. You stop forcing focus through guilt. You design environments that invite it. Fewer inputs. Clear surfaces, chosen hours. Attention starts responding because it finally feels safe. Time blindness still exists. It always will, but now you externalize time. Alarms, visual markers, anchors that do not judge. Structure becomes neutral. Anxiety loosens its grip. There is a flash of a morning you woke early without dread. Coffee cooling beside you. A single task waiting. No overload, no pressure. You entered work gently and stayed longer than expected. That was not discipline. That was alignment. Underestimation continues. People still expect inconsistency. They remember fragments of your past. You let them. Assumptions become camouflage. While they watch for chaos, you practice control quietly. Hyper-focus becomes predictable, not constant, but dependable. You learn its triggers, challenge, autonomy, meaning. You arrange work to invite these conditions. When it arrives, you are ready. A scene returns of a night you worked until exhaustion, chasing brilliance, then collapsed for days afterward. This time, you stop earlier. You save strength. Control feels strange at first. Then it feels powerful. Emotional intensity stabilizes into depth. You feel fully without drowning. Movement replaces rumination. Walks, creation, physical exertion. Storms pass faster when energy flows forward. There is a memory of an argument replayed endlessly. Words echoing, silence cutting. That spiral once stole ease. Now it lasts minutes. You act. You release. Strength accumulates quietly when leaks are sealed. Comparison weakens. You stop racing borrowed timelines. Progress feels slower but heavier. You measure days by clarity, not applause. This internal metric steadies you when noise rises. Creativity matures. Fewer projects. Deeper focus. Novelty loses control. Purpose sustains effort through boredom. You feel patience growing like steel beneath skin. A flash of burning bridges appears. You stopped explaining your process to those invested in misunderstanding you. Silence became protection. Energy returned. Focus sharpened. Failure still visits. It teaches faster now. Ego steps aside. Curiosity leads. You extract lessons immediately. This adaptability outpaces perfection every time. Pressure increases. Scale approaches. Attention must now support others, not just you. This is where creativity meets leadership. There is a vision of standing at the edge of a storm, not inside it. Watching movement. Choosing entry. You design guardrails before expansion. Delegation appears. Trust is measured. Betrayal taught discernment. You choose allies carefully. Energy conservation becomes skill. You protect vision. Others handle noise. The storm listens now. You command direction without raising voice. A final flash appears of your younger self, staring at unfinished work, shoulders heavy, believing genius was impossible. You look back with compassion. That version survived so this one could lead. The secret was never stopping the daydream. It was learning when to return, and the return changes everything. The throne does not appear with trumpets. It appears as quiet readiness. The storm inside you finally waits for instruction, instead of dragging you forward, without mercy. This is where daydreaming finishes its transformation and becomes deliberate innovation, with consequences. You feel the shift first in your body. Breath steadies, shoulders lower. Thoughts still move fast, but they line up behind intention. Chaos no longer owns the wheel. You do. There is a vision that returns now. Early morning. Sky pale. Streets empty. You stand still, watching light rise over buildings, feeling the same imagination that once pulled you away from classrooms now scanning reality for leverage. Nothing feels rushed. Everything feels possible. This is integration, the final transformation. Speed learns patience. Curiosity learns timing. Emotion learns command. You do not lose your edge here. You sharpen it. Your creativity now carries weight. People depend on it. Systems bend around it. You understand that genius without discipline burns out. Discipline without imagination stagnates. You hold both. There was a time you feared responsibility because it felt like confinement. Now responsibility feels like direction. Boundaries create freedom. Choice creates power. A flash surfaces of a cracked crown you once wore. Believing leadership was not meant for minds like yours. That crown reshapes itself now. Not flashy. Solid. Earned through endurance. Under pressure, you stay calm. Not passive. Decisive. Others freeze, seeking rules. You move within uncertainty, because uncertainty was your childhood environment. You learn to read weather early. They still underestimate you. They remember wandering eyes and unfinished work. They do not see the systems you built quietly. Let them. Surprise remains leverage. Your daydreams now serve vision. You allow them space, then call them back. Exploration feeds execution. Wandering informs precision. This rhythm becomes instinct. Emotion still runs deep. Sensitivity remains. That depth becomes intelligence. Empathy guides decisions. Intuition senses risk before data arrives. You trust these signals now because you verified them repeatedly through action. Time blindness still exists. It no longer betrays you. Buffers protect trust. Systems catch slips. Recovery happens quickly. You stopped abandoning yourself. Trust multiplied. Comparison disappears entirely. Alignment replaces ranking. You measure progress by clarity and impact, not noise. This internal compass never lies. Your work carries signature. People recognize it instantly. Originality becomes unavoidable when nonlinear intelligence is disciplined instead of shamed. Pressure becomes familiar weather. You prepare. Habits carry you through crises. Others chase motivation. You rely on structure built patiently over time. There is a memory of a burning bridge, smoke rising behind you as you walked forward without looking back. You left the need for permission there. Silence became armor. Revenge energy transforms into creation. You do not prove. You produce. Outcomes speak. Arguments fade. The storm imagery changes one last time. Fire burns clean. Steel holds edge. Shadows obey light. The throne was internal all along. You realize the truth fully now. They called it daydreaming because they could not see what you were building. Innovation always looks like absence before it looks like impact. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are built different. Different enough to imagine. Strong enough to discipline imagination. Wise enough to wait. Brave enough to move. The world will test this integration. Deadlines, stakes, eyes watching. You respond with clarity and movement, not noise. Stand steady inside your storm. Command attention with calm. Create relentlessly with care. Lead without shouting. Subscribe for the next ascent.